Hello, and welcome to Harkins Haven. So today is a little different because our mic wasn't working, so I'm going to tell you a little bit about what we're up to. One of our friends here locally is having surgery, and we are taking her and her family some dinner. I've decided to make lasagna, and we're going to do a new experiment with homemade pasta noodles, which has been on my bucket list to try to make for a while, and I just haven't gotten around to it. So I'm using this special meal as an excuse to try it out. The recipe that I am using is from Ruth Ann Zimmerman, and I can link it below. I'm just doing a half batch because that's all the more eggs I had. So this part we're just mixing by hand. I would, if I were doing this over again, just go ahead and stick it in the mixer because this is very gooey. But Blaine was having the time of his life mixing by hand and helping me out here. So at this point the dough has to rest, and we're going to move on to making garlic bread. This is just our plain white bread recipe, which I can link below. It's also from Ruth Ann Zimmerman, and we're just going to mix it up and then put garlic on the inside. That's our modification. Again, if I had to do this over again, I would put about 3 times as much garlic as I actually put in. I tried using whole garlic cloves, like diced up garlic cloves, and that was really good when you got one, but there just weren't enough of them. So I might also sprinkle in some powdered garlic when I do this again next time, which I definitely will because my family really enjoyed it. I am making a double batch of everything that we're making today so that we can have a meal for us for dinner as well as taking one to our friend. So we're just going to let this dough rise for a little while and move on to the next step in our lasagna, which is shredding some cheese. Now, it's on my bucket list someday to make our cheese and when we make our lasagna, but that is not this day. So this is just some raw sharp cheddar, which is my family's favorite, and we're going to do some mozzarella as well and just get as much of it shredded as we can. We also just leave some extra for the fridge, so we just keep shredding and shredding and shredding. I don't really love shredding cheese, but the one good part about it is you get to snack on cheese while you're doing it, which makes it sort of worth it. Alright friends, it's time to make some noodles. Now, Brian got me this noodle maker for Christmas, and I haven't had a chance to use it yet because our chickens just weren't laying over the winter. So, let's put it together and see. Friends, it is time for noodle making. I've been wanting to make noodles for a very long time and just haven't had a chance yet. So we're just going to get a small piece of dough, cover it in flour. I have this set on 1. Alright, we're going to switch it down to 2. forgot to reflour this one and it's stuck a little bit. So we're gonna try it one more time. Okay, somebody small wants to join us for noodles. Let's go for round 3. So we're just going to repeat the flouring process and the rolling it through the mixer. I can't even tell you how excited I am about these noodles. But while we wait for the noodles to get a little dry and cut them up, we have to make the meat sauce and all those things too. So let's go over to the stove and do that. So we're just going to dice up some onions, and I will say that in super speed I look like a very efficient onion chopper, but that is sadly not the case. But hey, they all got in there eventually. And then we're going to just put the onions in the pan and saute them up a bit until they're nice and golden brown before we add in our beef. And then we're just going to cook that until it is also brown. There's nothing really special about this process. You can add in some spices if you want, but I didn't do that this time. Here, while we're waiting for the meat to brown, we're going to dice the garlic for the garlic bread that I mentioned earlier. And our bread is finished its first rise. So it's time to do our bread. There's not really an exact recipe I'm following here, but this is just a couple tablespoons of melted butter. I'm going to put this garlic that we minced into the butter. We're going to mix that into our bread. So what I'm doing here is basically treating this sort of like a cinnamon roll, if you've ever made those. So I'm just flattening it out a bit and putting some of the buttery garlic mix in. If I were to do this again, I would just soften the butter, don't actually melt it because it's kind of a little soupy, but it still works the same. So then you're just gonna roll it up a little bit, try not to let it all drip out the ends, and stick it in the pan. Then just for some extra goodness, I put the remaining butter garlic mix on the top, and then it should be ready for round 2 of rising. Next, we're going to make our ricotta mix for our lasagna. So we're almost ready to assemble lasagna. A couple days ago, we had some raw milk that really needed to be used up before it went bad. Well, because it was getting a little sour. So I tried to make ricotta. This is the result. I didn't film it because I didn't know what I was doing. So we're going to taste this and see how it compares to the store-bought stuff. Not bad at all. It's a completely different texture, but it's pretty good. Is that yummy? Mama. I don't think he's thinking it's so yummy. We're gonna mix our ricotta and some of the store-bought stuff in here. Brian went out at lunch and collected the eggs because I was out of eggs. No, leave the noodles alone, please, Glenn. And then we're gonna put some mozzarella in with this. No, dear. No, dear. You want some cheese? Here. Here's a pile for Blaine. Mama cheese? Your brain eats cheese.
Mama.
Mom? Let's start assembling our lasagna. So I have some tomato sauce here that we're just gonna mix with oregano as our marinara sauce. I don't have any home canned stuff, which is what I would prefer to use, but I'm out. I'm gonna get a spoon. I'm just gonna start by putting a little bit of tomato sauce on the bottom. This is mostly so that nothing on the bottom burns or sticks. Next is noodles. So excited about the noodles. I need a knife. So I'm just gonna cut these noodles in interesting sizes that fit in the pan. No specific rhyme or reason to the noodle sizes. That one's sticky on the bottom. Hi, Blaine. Did you finish your berries?
Mama.
You want Mama to come out with you? Okay, just a minute. Next, our cheesy mixture. So we're just going to repeat all the layers, the cheesy layers, the meat, and the pasta layers, throwing in some sauce along the way. I am just adding the spices separate from the sauce. Typically you would put them together, but I didn't already have them done together, so I just added them separately. Let's get some of the meat. We're gonna put these in the oven for about 10 or 15 minutes to cook the noodles, and then we're gonna add the cheese that goes on top and put it back in for a couple more minutes to melt the cheese. Our bread is also ready, so let's start the ovens. Somehow I managed to forget to get a video of the finished product, so here you can enjoy Brian enjoying his lasagna.